Hello, everyone. Welcome to the American Dream, Despite It All, Al Grano. I am your host, Nora Vargas, and I'm so honored to share this space with you. We are living in a moment where the stakes are unmistakably clear. Around the world and right here at home, democracy is under pressure. Rights we thought were secure are being shipped away. Injustices are piling up, and the impact is being felt in real time by real people. And I want to honor that because I think it's really important to make sure that we take that in. And so it's really, I think, one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that we have a space to be able to have these conversations and because it's really important. So how do we keep showing up? How do we keep up showing up for our communities, our families, our democracy, and also making sure that we're showing up for ourselves? How do we rewrite the story? That we want to make sure that caring for ourselves isn't a distraction for the work, but it's an essential part of it, right? And like I said, this is why I created this podcast, to get to Al Grano, to have the real talk about what it means to live the American dream. Sometimes it seems like it's like really far away. But I want to make sure that we remember that the goal here is that we don't just survive, but that we're actually leading with corazón and with grit. And despite it all, we're moving forward. I want us to keep believing and having hope. And so today we're going to talk about the courage to say no, right? And the Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines courage as the mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, and withstand fear, difficulty, or danger, right? In other words, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the strength to move forward despite it all. So it's about acting with integrity when it would be easier not to. And it's not the dramatic no como de telenovela, right? It's not the reactive no, but it's the intentional no that comes from knowing yourself. And I know people say that all the time, but for us, I think for many, many of us, especially Latinas, women of color, saying no can feel very uncomfortable because so many of us were raised to help, to step in, to carry the responsibility forward. And as an immigrant, I think there's an added layer, right? Because we are sometimes the only ones that know the language. We're reading for our parents. There's so much there to unpackage. And so the way I like to think about it is this way. When I think about courage and the ability to say no, I think about what do you have to do in your leadership to remind yourself that leadership isn't meant to cost you your peace. I want to share that with you and say it again because leadership shouldn't cost you your peace, right? And one of the most important lessons I learned along my trajectory and the decades of work that I've done is that just because you could do something doesn't mean you should. And that sometimes it's really hard, right? Because it's tough when people are used to you getting things done. And that's why it's so important for you to really be able to think about why you're doing what you're doing. Because when you're clear on your why you're doing the work and where you're headed, decisions get easier. And so you stop deciding from fear or urgency, and you start deciding from alignment and when your values and what your long-term vision is. And that's important because it's not just saying no porque no, right? But it's saying no because even if you're a little fearful, you're saying no because it doesn't align with who you are and where you want to be. And that, to me, is power. And so as I think about all these ideas and the no manches component, is that discomfort is sometimes hard for other people, right? When you start changing, people are like, "Esa como ha cambiado, mira," But the truth is that discomfort isn't yours to manage. It belongs to them, to people who no longer feel comfortable with the fact that you are saying no to them because they're so used to it. When I was in a position that was pretty pretty powerful. I was on public all the time, etc. People would say, right, that I was I got shit done. And I really love that label. Like, I really love people saying, like, it's okay, she'll get it done. She'll get it done. GSD, I'm part of the GSD club. And it was supposed to be I think the person meant it very positive in an intentional way. But then I was like, oh my God, I'm exhausted because I'm getting shit done all the time. And so I had to learn, right? I had to learn that how much of it was at me, how much of it was my ego, how much of it was um, I'm the fixer, I can get everything done. When the truth is that that shouldn't like always be a strength. It really is about trying to figure out, you know, actually, I can't do that. Let me delegate it. Or there's another person that may have a better idea. Or, you know what I mean? And so I got to the point where I was like, no manches, yo ya no puedo con esto. I can't do this anymore. And people started having a really hard time when I said no. And so I share that with you because it's really important to remember, right? That the only person who you have control over, you don't have control over the people around you. You don't have control about what people say, what people do, none of that. The only person you have control over is you. The only person you have agency over is you. And that is really important because a clear no isn't about you being unkind. It's just you being honest. And so the more you practice it, the more your life starts to feel a little bit lighter, more intentional and more yours. You know, like when you feel it sometimes up here in your shoulders or así como que te cansas, you know, all of that is part of all of that responsibility that sometimes we carry with us. And so having the courage to say no is a very different way of looking at the world and saying, you know what, not right now, not for me. And I could do it, but I don't want to do it and I don't have to do it. So I say that because I want to make sure that you think about how when you do something that is overextending yourself, I want you to pay attention to your body because that tension is basically information. And this is what I call el grano de oro, right? Because you have to pay attention to your body. Tension is information that your body is sending you these signals. Ask yourself, does this move me closer to who I want to become? Right. And, you know, we've had a conversation about boundaries and, you know, where you're going. But here you have to practice the clean no. Nope, that doesn't work for me. And notice what's opening up when you say that. And I want to encourage you to every day practice at least one no. A no that serves your ultimate vision for yourself. And it's a great way to be able to see the world where you realize that you do have that courage to say, no, that is not for me, not right now. So, in closing, your no is not rejection, right? It's discernment. It's how you protect your peace, your purpose, and your direction. And so, when you say yes, it actually means something. So I want to thank you today for spending this time with me on El Grano, the American Dream, despite it all. If this episode actually resonated with you, make sure that you share it with everyone. Tag me at Al Grano con Nora, and then let me know what you think. And I want to know, you know, where are you choosing alignment right now? And don't forget to lead with corazón, own your power. Y recuerda, tu paz también importa. Nos vemos la próxima, and don't dim your light for anyone. Gracias.